Hello, welcome to our podcast. I'm Dolly.
And I'm Jolene.
And we're here to weird you out
with sex.
Jolene, what are the content warnings for us today?
In this book, there's discussion of isolation, interspecies relationships, public sex, and light BDSM talk.
Listener discretion is advised. On with the show. Welcome to the Womanly Portal podcast.
On this podcast, we discuss explicit books in explicit detail.
And we say fuck a lot.
Listener discretion is advised.
This podcast is not for people under the age of 18.
On with the show. Hello, listeners.
Hi.
How's it going?
They're not answering us. They're listening. Jolene, What are we talking about on the pod this week?
I'm so glad you asked. We're re-recording today because the audio for this episode was full of dog sounds and AC sounds and outside kid sounds and my husband walking through the house sounds.
Amazing.
And I couldn't stand it. So we're doing a re-record of one of genuinely my favorite books I've ever read for the podcast.
I mean, low bar.
Yeah, that's
You mean
true.
It's not Darcy Takes a Wife?
No.
Bummer.
Only slightly, but
I feel like that will really disappoint some of our listeners.
No. Actually, I think all of our listeners should be super, super excited about this one. We are today talking about Hugo Award-nominated trilogy, the Space Raptor Butt Trilogy by Dr. Chuck Tingle, internet's favorite erotic novelist.
He's a doctor? Butt doctor?
No, I don't think so. Butt doctor? Yeah, he's a
Buttologist.
Yeah, that's what they call him. I tried really hard to figure out what the doctor name for a colonoscopy doctor was. It's proctologist, isn't it? It's not colonoscopologist.
That makes it sound like he's apologizing.
You know, I've never had a colonoscopy, but I have heard that they are terrible. So
I have also heard that.
Anyway.
So, other than our original one making it sound like we recorded while driving through a tunnel, what else made you want to, actually go back rather than just nix it? Why didn't we just, let that be our own pod diary?
I'm so glad that you asked. Good segue. Good lead in there, Dolly.
I've done this one other time.
As you know, but our listeners don't know, I actually did meet Dr. Chuck Tingle at a book signing for his genuinely very amazing and very well-respected book, Bury Your Gaze, which is an amazing horror novel. So not the same genre at all, not the same length at all. Oh my God, that book is like a full-on novel. This is a whole trilogy that lasts 37 pages.
It's a good 10 pages per book.
Yeah. It was
plus 7 extra. That's almost a fourth book right there.
It was 20 to 25 minutes per book on the audiobook. It's great.
Good read. Okay.
But yeah, so I've been a fan of Chuck Tingle for years and years and years and years. But I think I fell into the trap that most people fall into with him, which is that I completely misunderstood his work, which sounds so pretentious, especially when we're talking about the Space Raptor Butt Trilogy.
Yeah.
But hang in there with me, okay? Hang in there with me. I'll talk more about the book signing later on, but I do just want to intro Chuck Tingle himself a little bit.
Okay.
So his name is not Chuck Tingle, all right? Just throwing that out there.
I am shocked.
I know. If you Google a picture of Chuck Tingle, it is a man with a pink bag on his head, wearing sunglasses, and across the forehead it says, "Love is real."
Over the bag are the sunglasses?
Yes.
Wow. Well, how did they stay on?
I think there's holes on the side and they go in, or maybe they're hot glued to the bag.
Okay.
But that's clearly where the eye holes would be. There's a little hole where his mouth is, and that's his whole thing.
Okay.
And he wears really nice suits, very well-tailored suits, actually.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. And no one knows who he is?
No one knows who he is.
Okay.
He does have...
So he might be a buttologist.
He might. He might be a buttologist.
Perfect. I mean, how else would he know so much about space raptors' butts?
I know. He knows a lot about butts, just in general. So much about butts.
Yeah. All right. I believe he's a doctor.
I do too. He has a son, supposedly, who goes by the name John online. And the son supposedly has gone on record on like Reddit AMAs and stuff saying, yes, I'm his son. Yes, he's for real. I do all the editing for his erotic stories. I'm like,
all right.
You know what? Good on you, John.
His family's not like mine.
No. I guess it's just the two of them.
But I don't have a butt doctor in the family, so...
So nobody knows who he is. He's completely anonymous. That's the way that he likes it. So he's made a ton of public appearances in the past few years because after years and years of writing these short erotic stories, he's published 4 horror stories in the last 3 or 4 years that all deal with basically the terror of living as a queer person in America. They're very LGBTQ forward. They're very neurodivergence forward. And they're incredibly well written. They're so profound in their study of queer identity and the terror that people face just trying to live their lives, which is incredible. They're really good. They're really, really well reviewed.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. I wish I was into horrors.
I know. That's kind of my whole thing too.
Keep me up at night.
Yeah.
So I'll read his butt series though, for sure.
Especially his I don't know much about his first novel, which is called Straight. Camp Damascus is about a gay conversion therapy camp. And I'm like,
sounds heavy.
Me and my religious trauma cannot. Bury Your Gaze is about how gay characters get killed off in TV.
Oh, yeah.
And it's about a guy who wrote a TV series where 2 characters are gay and they tell him, the production team or whatever tells him he has to kill off his gay characters. And then horror shit just starts happening. And that's about as far as I got in that one. Because it's like, oh no, this murder scene was really scary.
Yes.
And I couldn't. And then I don't know what Lucky Day is about because at the time of recording, it has not released yet. All I know is that the cover is gorgeous and I want to own it.
We'll make sure you get a copy.
Thank you.
Okay, side tangent. Fucking pisses me off so hard that they always kill off the gay characters.
I know. It's fucking annoying.
It makes me not want to watch shows. Whenever I'm like, oh, great, a gay character, they're going to die.
Right.
Immediately, even on non-horror. I'm still mad about Buffy, and that was in the 90s.
Yeah.
There are so many problematic things about that show. Yeah. And the thing that sticks with me, well, there's 2 things. One, the age gap between the high schooler vampire slayer and the vampire she then dates.
Well, what is he, 400 years old?
I guess I'm being a little picky about that.
There's not a lot of 400-year-old women, and there are a lot of 16-year-olds. C Mann, cut that. You have to.
But
I write your paychecks for $0.
It was them fucking killing off Willow.
Okay, spoilers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's a great book. It was high up on the New York Times bestseller and whatever. And that's a book tour that I went to was for Bury Your Gaze. And it was phenomenal. It was the best book tour that I went on last year. And the best book signing that I went to last year. I wasn't on the tour. Oh my God. Okay, so long intro aside, Chuck Tingle is most well known online for his short stories, which he calls tinglers. His tinglers are...
Also sounds like an STD symptom.
Yeah, Prepare to get your dick tingly in this episode. Shout out to...
Next month's
episode. So
we're just really good at foreshadowing.
We are so good at this. It's like we did it on purpose. So his tinglers are short erotic stories that go by a very specific formula. I think it's helpful if I just give you some of my favorite titles of his.
Okay, yes, please do.
Okay, so Pounded in the Butt by My Own Butt. No, don't ask questions. It's fine.
Okay.
My Macaroni and Cheese is a lesbian. Also, she is my lawyer.
She sounds wonderful.
She's great.
That honestly sounds like my dream partner.
Wait, there's more. Unicorn Butt Cops Beach Patrol.
What the fuck is a butt cop?
Again, don't ask questions, dude.
All right. Well, I'm trying to figure out what the butt is if it's not your butt.
Bigfoot sommelier butt tasting.
Bigfoot's butt?
Well, he's the sommelier.
Ah, okay.
He's
cool.
tasting butts.
No wonder people want to catch him.
Yeah. Professor T-Rex teaches me gayness.
Oh, nice. That's what the Republicans are afraid of.
Yeah, T-Rexes specifically. Not pounded in the butt by anything, and that's okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, today's Space Raptor Butt Trilogy, which is 3 books in a collection.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So he's written, according to Google, which could be wrong, just to be clear, 491 books as of April 2025, when I looked this up, including the 4 novels that we talked about. So people have been taking the piss out of Dr. Chuck Tingle for like a long-ass time online, because if you read those titles, it feels like you've gotten enough, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's fair.
They're pretty fucking silly.
Yes.
I think we can... My Macaroni and Cheese is a Lesbian. Also, She is My Lawyer is an insane title for a story.
It's very long. Yeah, it's a little out there.
It's
yeah,
also very
sure.
descriptive.
Yes.
And the description is ridiculous. It's really silly.
Yes.
So it is fair to say that based on that title, and I'm sorry, it covers just like this one that I'm showing you now.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, there is a very ripped man and a dinosaur in a spacesuit in front of him.
Yep.
What looks like a villain in a...
Yes, that is a villain in a suit, yeah.
Yeah, he's got villain glasses for sure.
Oh, wait, are we talking about him or
yeah,
him?
I'm talking about the villain glasses.
Okay, yeah, I don't know
and
who
then the
does this.
Sith Lord who doesn't have a shirt on is on behind the shirtless, buff, greasy dude.
Yeah, I don't know
He's
who that
like
is.
oily, not greasy. Let me see.
Sorry, yeah.
And then there's definitely a spaceship, a rocket ship that looks like it's leaving the U.S.
Oh no, I think that's on a planet. Sorry, I was covering it up with my hand.
Oh yeah, okay. That's something.
That is something.
Okay,
It looks like a lot of different stock images or clip art connected together.
Like they couldn't decide the cover.
Yeah, well, this is a whole trilogy, so.
This feels like when we were teenagers and we would cut shit out of magazines.
Yeah,
like collage.
it's a collage.
It
yeah.
feels like a collage.
And I need you to know that like all of his covers look like that because it's kind of become like his thing, right?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, so he's kind of known for that.
Yeah.
Which is funny and really like fun. His tinglers have 4 varieties. They have sentient object tinglers, unicorn tinglers, dinosaur tinglers, Bigfoot tinglers, and that's it. That's 4.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are the 4
Interesting.
flavors.
Oh, good.
We're doing a dinosaur tingler.
Perfect.
I chose this one because it was the one that I think got him on the map. Because in 2016, this was nominated for a Hugo Award, which is the longest running, most prestigious award for sci-fi that exists.
Yes. It's a big deal. I didn't think something with butt in the title would make it on that list.
Yeah. So I want to tell
Good
you...
for him.
No. Hold on tight. Hold on tight. I want to tell you and the listeners why he got nominated, because he did not ask to be nominated.
Okay.
He was nominated as a joke to make the Hugo Awards look bad, basically, by a group called Sad Puppies. So I don't have time to go into why this group is called Sad Puppies, but their entire mission is to bring down the Hugo Awards because they, as a group, believe that the Hugo Awards has become less legitimate because they keep giving the awards to quote-unquote politically correct and left-leaning media instead of for people who are actually good at writing. Meh, meh, meh. So, of all people, they chose Chuck Tingle to be their, like, joke entry for the year and then put people on, like, mass voting for it so that if Chuck Tingle won, it would make the Hugo Awards look bad. So Chuck Tingle said that if he did not condone his nomination and that if he won the award, he was going to send a trans rights activist to pick it up instead.
All right.
And, like, give an impassioned speech about it, which I think is a good response.
Yeah.
He lost, and then he promptly wrote a book called Pounded in the Butt by My Hugo Award Loss. Which is so good.
I can't believe that wasn't on your favorite.
I wanted to keep it a surprise. I also left off the sequel to Pounded in the Butt by My Own Butt, which is Pounded in the Butt by My Book, Pounded in the Butt by My Own Butt.
Interesting. Okay.
There's like 4 sequels in that one.
It feels like Buttception.
Yeah. So this series did not win the Hugo Award, but I think it's worth talking about anyway, because I read it and I expected it to be silly, and then it wasn't. Then it was just good. And I was originally, when we first did this episode, kind of salty about that. But having now like listened to Dr. Chuck Tingle talk about his work and having met him, I actually feel really strongly about it. So we're going to get into it.
Perfect.
Let's just jump right in with the first book in the series, which is Space Raptor Butt Invasion.
Perfect.
They're all going to have that sort of title.
Naturally.
I think you should expect that.
Pounded in my butt with my butt.
You need to know that we are now officially entering the Tingleverse.
Okay.
The Tingleverse is the universe that all of Chuck Tingle's books take place in. So just expect things to get a little bit tingly.
All right.
Yeah. So we open up on a distant planet, unnamed,
Okay.
uninhabited. The only 2 people on this planet right now are Lance and Pike. They are 2 astronauts who have been stationed here for the past year to try and terraform it so that the people of Earth can use it as their new Earth, because, you know, ours is dying. Like Wall-E.
Like Wall-E. Okay,
Yeah, like
perfect.
Wall-E. So the unfortunate thing is that there's been funding cuts.
Oh, good, because that seems like the right thing to do then.
Right. So unfortunately, they can no longer afford to keep 2 astronauts on this planet. They can only keep 1. So Pike, like, kind of won the coin toss or whatever and gets to go home.
Okay. Leaving one person alone on a planet sounds like a real quick way to get a very castaway. Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's crazy that they think he couldn't run everything by himself. But like, okay, that's how space works in this universe, I guess.
Perfect.
So.
Also, what do you mean they couldn't afford 2? Like, the astronaut's already there. It's not like they're taking a salary.
No, but they have to, like, feed him and shit.
But with the shit they're growing there, right?
No.
I'm sorry. No. My only reference for this is The Martian.
No, it's not quite like The Martian, which I have not seen. No, I mean, I assume that Pike's just kind of gonna...
They, like, send food?
I don't know.
This is very odd.
It was 37 pages for 3 books. I don't know what you want from me.
I want all my terraforming questions answered.
No.
Clearly, the butt doctor should have learned some other scientist-y things.
We haven't even gotten to the butt pounding yet.
Okay.
Okay. So Pike's leaving.
Okay.
And in this moment of exposition, we learn that Earth has about 10 years left before it's just completely uninhabitable. So this is kind of a big deal. Like, the Earth is dying, and the only team that's up in space trying to fix it just had their funding cut. And that bites.
Yes.
So Lance is pretty sad. He's also sad that he drew the short end of the stick and has to stay up there. Pike says on his way out, Lance, you gotta stay safe, man. Space can get a little weird sometimes. People start seeing things. And then he leaves. Like, that's not ominous or whatever. Fuck you, Pike. After he leaves, Lance goes out onto the planet's surface and he travels from, like, whatever that station was all the way over to the terraforming station to, like, do his terraforming duties.
Right.
And as he's, like, low gravity bouncing up the hill, he sees another astronaut on another hill.
Oh.
And then that astronaut, like, gets on a motorcycle and drives away.
Oh.
And so he, like, bounds over there, but the tracks are already getting blown away, so he can't go, like, follow him.
Okay.
So Lance just goes about his duty, gets into the terraforming station, and then, like...
I guess what else would you do other than...
I know, right?
I don't report it.
Have a minor crisis?
I think, yeah.
He thinks maybe he's going space crazy.
Okay, that's fair. That is what his space bud said.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Pike might have always been a figment of his imagination.
Maybe there's no funding cuts. They just
they forgot
Pike
about
never
him.
existed.
Yeah. All right.
So he goes into the terraforming station and he falls asleep on the couch. And when he wakes up, it's because somebody's banging on the door.
Whoa.
So he lets this other person into, like, the little, like, oxygen chamber or whatever, you know, in space.
Yeah.
You know?
I know.
When there's, like, the 2 doors.
Yeah.
I've
been.
Yeah, you've been. You were in The Martian.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, physically.
That's how I learned about butts. Now.
Found it in your butt. So this other astronaut is in that little gappy room, and they're talking over like a monitor or whatever. And he's like, who the fuck are you? And the other astronaut's like, I could say the same thing. Can you let me in though? And he's like, yeah, okay, whatever. So Lance just lets this guy come inside. And when he comes inside, they shake hands, and Lance notices that this other astronaut's glove only has 3 fingers.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice. It's a visual gag. So then the other astronaut introduces himself as Orion.
Okay.
And Lance says that he's from Earth, and Orion's like, no fucking way. And he takes off his space helmet to reveal the head of a velociraptor.
I feel like that would be surprising.
Yes.
I would think I was going space crazy.
Yes. And then Orion says he's actually from Earth too. And I bet, Lance, that you were told that we dinosaurs died out in like what, some kind of ice age? That's hilarious. We actually left Earth like 1 billion years ago. And we've been living on our own new terraformed planet, Earth 2. I'm just out here being an astronaut for fun.
So
and science or whatever.
That's amazing. Like they were like, this planet's gonna die. Let's go make a better one.
Yeah, just like the humans are doing now.
Yeah, except for I guess the dinosaurs didn't have budget cuts.
No, the dinosaurs just did find a better planet and all moved there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like 1 million years ago.
Yeah.
And they've just been doing fine now.
I do feel like they would be good at like spaceship gadgets and
with their 3 fingers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, clearly.
The claws. I mean, I saw how they opened doors on Jurassic Park.
They were very talented.
They were very. And they could tap when they were irritated.
And they have evolved now to be humanoid, I should say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like just the heads?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Well, you saw the cover
Plus
of the book. Look at that
fingers. Guy. Yeah, that's pretty. How many fingers is on his little
That's
thing?
5. That's lazy editing.
We should complain to John.
We should. Hey, John.
Fucking John. We know you edited this.
Bud. In 2016.
It was 37 pages. You couldn't spend 4 minutes on the fucking cover.
Come on, man. Make that into 3 fingers. So basically, Orion and Lance are like, well, you know what's better than hanging out on a deserted planet by yourself for a year? Hanging out with a bro.
Yeah.
So then they just hang out for like a few months.
Cool. All right.
Just having a good time. And then one day, all of a sudden, they start to like connect on a deeper level. Like they get to talk a lot. And Lance is like, this is pretty cool. This guy's actually pretty nice and like really thoughtful and sweet. And then they start to be like kind of attracted to one another.
Interesting. All right.
And Lance has the line, our differences in species surely couldn't classify me as gay, could it?
Yeah, same gender, different species, same. We're just swapping it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then they're lounging in the base and they're just like kind of looking out this big space window out at the planet. And Lance just goes, can I ask you a personal question? And Orion's like, sure thing, Lance. Shoot. Lance goes, you ever wonder what it would be like to fuck a human? And Orion's like, well, yeah, it's just the thing is that human women are just kind of small and soft and I'm a big dinosaur. And Lance is like, what about a human man? And then they fuck, so. Oh,
that's all it took? Mm-hmm. Just implant the idea and then he's like, let's try it.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Right.
Look, man, they are the only 2 people on this whole planet. Yeah. So what I like about this sex scene is they introduce the concept.
Dexterous 3 claws?
That never comes into it.
Oh.
I know, you would think.
I feel like there was some opportunity there.
Yeah, not really. Yeah.
All right. So
what I like about it is that they introduce domination pretty early on, but they do it really smoothly, just like with one line.
All right.
Like when Lance says, what about a human man? Orion is like, yeah, I think I might be into that. But the dinosaur man would have to be in charge and take control. And Lance was like, yeah, obviously. And then Orion's like, get down on your knees. And then they just like have like really pushy dom sub sex.
Okay.
And I'm like, that is all it takes, guys. That is all it takes to introduce consent into your books. It was literally 2 lines of dialogue.
Perfect.
And I already know they're both into it. Come on, man. That's as easy as it has to be.
Right.
We don't need sex paperwork, 50 Shades of Grey. We need 2 lines of dialogue.
Yes.
So I thought that was pretty good. And then, honestly, it was pretty hot. I don't know what to tell you. It was pretty hot. Well, there was a hand job, and then there was some gagging.
Yeah.
And then there was some deep throating.
Oh, okay.
And then there was a lot of punishment talk. And then there was more deep throating. And then there was some face down, ass up with spanking.
Okay.
And then there was your favorite word in the whole world. Do you remember what it is?
I don't. Sequoia? That's my favorite word.
That's the one.
I like big trees. It's fun to say. Sequoia.
That's a new merch idea. I want it to be just the trunk of a sequoia redwood with 2 bushes right next to it. And just a sequoia underneath.
With a question mark?
Sequoia? That's our first merch. Get your friend on the phone.
No, after the nightgown.
Oh, yeah. No, the nightgown is perfect.
Yeah.
No, puckered.
Oh, no.
I'm so glad I could hit you with that one.
No.
Yeah, so they talk about his puckered asshole a little bit. And then the position changes to missionary, which is not actually that common in an anal scene.
No.
But it's kind of nice because it's intimate.
Yeah.
Oh, and then they used a lot of different words for cum.
Interesting.
Cum and spunk and jizz.
Spunk?
Spunk. Have you never heard that one before?
No.
and then C Mann just passed me the book. Dino load.
I like that one.
That one's good. You've never heard the word spunk?
I've heard the word spunk. I have never heard it
as cum?
No.
No, that's why it's so funny that in Rocco's Modern Life, his dog's name is Spunky.
Is that why?
That's why it's so funny.
Okay. I had no idea.
Well, I'm so glad I could educate you on something today.
Perfect. All right.
We're both learning things about each other. So a couple of good lines. Pound me like the homo space boy that I am. You're the best dinosaur bud a guy could ask for. Discipline me. I need it.
I just can't imagine using the word bud during a sex scene.
I know.
Punish me, bud.
Punish me, bud. I had to listen to that line 3 times because I thought maybe they were saying butt, but they were not.
Nope, bud.
And then at the end, they end this book and this story with, I think the next year up here is going to work out just fine. I tell the dinosaur, unable to keep a smile from spreading across my face.
Oh no, that's ominous.
So 15 minutes of this first book is the exposition. And then 15 minutes of this first book is the sex scene.
Perfect.
So we're at a 50-50 split on this first one.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Then we immediately roll into Space Raptor Butt Redemption.
Could you imagine editing this book if your parents had written it?
No, I don't even let my mom listen to the podcast.
No, of course not. But could you imagine your dad being like, so I'm writing books and I need somebody to proofread it for me.
I would not.
And then you get to punish me, bud.
Punish me, bud. I would not edit books for my dad, even if they were the kinds of books my dad would write, which would probably be spy novels. That's what I would guess my dad would write. I would not. I don't want to know what's living in his spy novel imagination.
All right. I can get with that.
You know, I'm not that close to my parents. I think you might be the only person I would edit erotica for.
Aw.
Yeah.
That's so nice.
You're welcome.
Great. Perfect.
That's so book 2, Space Raptor Butt Redemption. Catches us up 1 year later.
Okay.
When Lance and Orion return to Earth.
Orion
comes with.
That seems bold.
Well, he has to because I was gonna sneak this in a little
security
later.
cameras.
Well, probably. I don't know.
And just half of NASA is watching Punish Me, Bud.
Well, we're gonna
take
get
my dino load.
We're gonna get.
Spunky.
We're going to get a lot more public in a second, so it's not going to seem that weird in a moment.
Okay.
But I'll explain why Orion has to be there in just 1 second. Really, they've come to Earth because Orion knows of a planet that's been terraformed that the humans can live on. It's the planet he's from. So really, they're here to be like, hey, Earth President, we should send the humans to Earth too. It's already there. We can stop spending money on terraforming our own planet. We've already got some dinosaur buddies who did it for us. So they're planning on that.
Don't you feel like the dinosaur buddies would be like, hold on.
Well, Orion's cool with it.
These fuckers have ruined their own planet. Why would we invite them to ours?
Yeah, I kind of had that question too.
Yeah.
But we'll find out about that in book 3, Space Raptor Butt Ascension.
Perfect. Love Butt Ascension.
Meanwhile, Lance and Orion are on their way somewhere in like a limousine or something. And Lance is thinking in his like internal dialogue about how nervous he is that the people of Earth are not going to be accepting of his and Orion's relationship.
Okay.
That they're going to be kind of unhappy with that. And Orion's like, don't worry about it. I told you already that I love you, and whatever happens, we'll be together. We'll make it work somehow. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, oh, that's sweet.
That is sweet.
Yeah, they love each other. So I thought that there was like actually this super beautiful line right here while Lance and Orion are talking about how they're going to make sure that they stay together no matter what. Mm-hmm. Lance's internal dialogue says, what's important to understand now is that Orion and I came together in the most unusual circumstances and discovered in one another the most incredible love in the entire galaxy.
Aww.
Yeah.
That's really cute.
Yeah. So the Tingleverse is a very accepting universe when it comes to like transgender characters and LGBTQIA characters of all kinds. Lots of gay shit. Lots of bisexual stuff, lots of asexual stories, lots of, did I say trans characters? Lots of trans characters. So this is Chuck Tingle's way of exploring that same kind of idea without ruining what he's already built in his universe. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I thought that was a really beautiful line.
I like it.
Really gorgeous. So Lance then enters a courtroom, and what we discover is not only are they here to try and talk the humans into visiting Earth 2, they're actually on trial.
For,
thank you for asking, for breaking space code number 4, which is, I will not be weird in space.
I was right. No one says bud during sex.
Yeah, he's too weird in space. So Lance was given a court-appointed attorney or whatever.
Okay.
But that guy was problematic. So he's decided to represent himself.
Okay.
Which has been iffy because Lance isn't very eloquent. So he's really nervous about today because he's not sure if he's going to be able to say something that's going to be convincing enough for the courtroom to be on his side.
Okay.
Because he was just too weird in space. So I already told you, we're in the Tingleverse, right?
Yes.
And to expect a lot of butts.
Yes.
There's a lot of butts in this one. You know Lady Justice?
Yes.
With the scales and the sword. Mm-hmm. So Lady Justice in this world has a heart in one hand and a disembodied butt in the other.
All right.
And the book says she seems to be weighing them, deciding which is more important, which is also pretty on the nose.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, okay. So he goes in and he's sworn in by the judge. This is how you get sworn in the Tingleverse. A clerk walks over, drops his pants, and bends down, ass facing Lance. Lance cups both cheeks, and he swears to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so pound my butt.
I hope that clerk gets paid so good.
He seemed very happy about it.
All right. I mean, Lance is hot, according to the book. Cover.
Yeah, cover. Also, according to the book, everyone's really handsome in the Tingleverse. I have not heard a single character not described as handsome.
Interesting. Okay, so...
Yeah, so he's sworn in, and the prosecution's whole case is just that raptor on human love is just too damn weird, and that having this weird raptor love muffin is just too damn weird for space, and it just taints the image of space travel.
Okay.
So... this whole section is a metaphor, okay? It might not sound like it now, but this section, this whole book right here, the whole court trial, is a metaphor. And I think it's a metaphor for the industry of writing.
Okay.
And I have a quote that kind of illustrates why I think that. So Lance has made an argument that his being weird in space has actually brought a lot of attention to space travel, and that before this, there were lots of people who weren't even thinking about it. Even though the world is dying and they need funding for space, his being weird in space is the first thing to bring public attention to it in a long time.
Okay.
So the lawyer says, we all want funding for the space program, but not like this, he says, motioning up to the image of Raptor and man embracing on screen. This is just dumb. Who says it's dumb? I question. The lawyer thinks for a minute. Well, I do. And you know better than everyone else because... I continue. The lawyer rolls his eyes. Listen, I've been working in space trials for years. I'm a big part of the space community. I know what's dumb and what's not. Okay, I counter. But did you ever think that something could be dumb and good? There's more chatter from the jury box again. The lawyer laughs. Ha! And space stuff? Not a chance. Space is for smart people. Maybe that's why nobody likes it enough to get a rocket off the ground, I offer. You know, Chuck Buckarooski once said, an intellectual says a simple thing in a hard way. An artist says a hard thing in a simple way. Okay, your question about Chuck Buckarooski.
Who is Chuck Buckarooski?
Okay, I'm so glad you asked. So Chuck Tingle calls his fans buckaroos.
Oh my gosh. So he's referring to himself?
I think so.
That's adorable. Okay.
I meant to look up if that was actually a him quote, but I think he's referencing himself there because he's making a point about how he, Chuck Tingle, is not taken seriously as an author because his books are dumb.
Yeah.
But also his books are good.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Okay.
And we don't want people to be good and dumb. We want them to just be one or the other, right?
Yes.
So that's how I'm reading it. It was later on when the prosecutor starts saying that, like, no matter what you say, Lance, we're going to replace you with a different astronaut. An astronaut who knows what they're doing. An astronaut who's not too weird for space and who's not going to make space look bad.
Okay.
Like, he says something like, you know, Neil Armstrong wasn't up there fucking dinosaurs in space. He was just up there being a good astronaut. So we're going to replace you with one of these astronauts who we know is doing something better, or doing better as an astronaut. And the names that they drop are Steve's Clingy or Neil's Gabin.
Amazing.
And I'm pretty sure, I'm 87.9% sure that's a Stephen King and Neil Gaiman reference.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe 92.7% sure.
Which is funny. That is funny.
It makes sense because Stephen King is like a horror novelist, and we find out later Chuck Tingle is a horror novelist, and Neil Gaiman is like, that's a weird one to drop now in hindsight, but like in 2016 when this book came out, like one of the most prestigious and well-respected authors of all time.
Yeah.
And so I think, I don't know, I just think he is actually saying something really interesting about what it's like to be the quote-unquote right kind of, in the book, astronaut, but in the real world, artist or author.
Yes.
And I'm like, fuck it, Chuck Tingle, I didn't expect you to say something of substance in your dumb raptor smut.
In 37 pages.
In 37 pages. Yeah. And he
but stuff
did.
can be dumb and good.
Stuff can be dumb and good.
Yeah.
So then Lance is given a choice by the judge. Stay with his raptor boyfriend and stay grounded on Earth, or continue being an astronaut but denounce his raptor lover. And that's when he sees Orion in the audience. And he decides that he's going to choose love over all else. And he gives an impassioned speech to the audience about how love is so much more important than everything else, and asking him to sacrifice that so that he can be made an example of is like the shittiest thing that they can ask.
Right.
So
wait,
then,
doesn't that mean that the raptor has to stay on Earth too?
It kind of would, or he would have to find his own way back, I guess.
Okay.
So then he runs out into the audience, and he and Orion just start making out.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And as he and Orion are furiously making out.
That would be interesting, just because, like, the dinosaur mouth is, like, big, and then, like, you don't have that big of an opening.
Yeah, I don't know. And this velociraptor is bigger than normal velociraptors.
Yeah. I bet that tongue is gaggable.
Yeah, maybe it's just tongue-on-tongue action.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
Kiss me, bud.
I'm not not into it.
All right.
Bud.
Cool.
So as they're making out, the whole audience is chanting Chuck Tingle's catchphrase. Love is real. Love is real.
Aww.
Love is real. Which is such a hilarious, like, visual. Just they're making out like crazy, and the whole audience is like, oh my God.
Holy shit, it's here. I like it.
So then in front of everybody, they just fuck again.
Nice.
Yeah. The scene
Still
is
domination.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But they previously consented to that, so it doesn't feel weird or anything.
Not everybody in the audience. But I guess, like, there's a certain level of exception of
I'm gonna guess.
butt stuff.
I'm gonna guess this is a Tingleverse sort of culture.
Yes. Based off of how you have to swear on the clerk's ass, I bet.
So this scene is a lot shorter than the last one. It's only like 6 minutes.
Okay.
But like hugely public, obviously. Just right there in the middle of the courtroom.
Dino cock.
There's a deep-throated blowjob. Then there's some butt fucking. The word puckered comes up again.
No.
Just ruins it for you.
Yeah.
Fine. What word would you use instead?
Why do I have, can I just
Crinkly?
not? No. You want somebody to talk about their crinkly asshole?
No. I just don't know what else you come up with.
Touch my crinkles, bud. Just don't talk about it. Just say it's the asshole. I don't know.
It's better than when they just call it the hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, except for I think that it's when people, a lot of the books I've read about, when they're talking about it being puckered, it's almost like it just feels a little sentient. And they always talk about it almost like it can, it's looking at you. And I hate it. Hate it. Anyway.
So don't call it the brown eye is what you're saying.
No.
No? Okay. All right. So I really liked the description on this scene. There were a couple of times where Lance's internal dialogue describes how powerful it feels to be truly exposed this way. Honestly, freely, and fully is how he says it. And I can love the use of a public sex scene in that way because it's sort of trying to represent we are being 100% vulnerable in ourselves in front of this group of people as a display of power. And in this book that is already just a metaphor.
It takes away anything that could be shame.
Yeah.
When it's
literally.
In the light.
Yes, absolutely. And it takes away how awkward a public sex scene can feel sometimes.
Yes.
Because you're hearing the character talk about why they're into it, why it feels powerful, why it feels hot, why it feels like the right thing to do, which you don't usually get in descriptions of sex scenes in general.
Yeah, that's true.
So I liked the internalized
monologue.
Reflection on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at the end, the judge is crying. And he just says, "That was so beautiful. I think I speak for everyone when I say that you've shown us love can overcome the odds, no matter what they may be. Right now, you're the only hope we've got, and god damn it, I'm okay with space getting a little weird sometimes."
Also, nice crinkly dino ass.
Yeah, I love your crinkles.
Tinkle crinkles.
So then we go into the third book, and the third book is Space Raptor Butt Ascension. So now we are going to have to talk about the plot that's been happening in the background that I've just been ignoring.
Okay.
To be fair, the plot that happens in the background barely gets mentioned at all in the first two books.
Okay.
But it is part of the court case in the second one. Okay, so part of the reason that Lance was on trial in the first place is because the company that sent Lance to space is funded by a company called Scoundrels, Inc.
Okay.
I think we can understand who Scoundrels, Inc. is in this story.
Yeah. Shirtless Sith Lord. Got it.
Well, actually, I'm not sure. I don't know who that guy's supposed to be. I'm pretty sure he's this guy with the bad guy glasses.
Oh, yeah. Evil lawyer.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. I don't know, dude. The judge, maybe? Maybe that's the clerk whose ass we saw?
Ooh, maybe it's the first guy.
It's Pike. That's what he looked like when he was saying, "Stay safe."
Things get weird.
So Scoundrels, Inc. makes a lot of their money off of the illegal sale of unicorn tears.
Aww.
And so Lance only finds out about that money being used to fund his space program when he's walking in the courtroom.
Oh.
And part of the reason he was on trial was to make an example out of the space exploration.
Okay.
We need to punish the people who are going to space on the dime of illegal unicorn tears.
Okay.
And Lance was like, I mean, yeah, that sounds bad. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
That's not me, man. I don't know what to tell you.
You're like, there weren't any unicorns out there.
Yeah.
I know I would have fucked him.
So at the end of the last story, the judge decides that the real way to fight back is not to make an example out of Lance, but to legally mandate a new source of funding for future space endeavors. It's also decided that the leader of the company, a man named Vam Dox, would be put in prison for life for his crimes against the unicorns. Yeah, right. I don't know if it's a reference to anything.
It's gotta be, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's so specific. I tried to figure it out, but I don't know. I couldn't figure it out. Yeah, I thought it was like a Jeff Bezos thing or something, but...
Van Dox.
V-A-M.
Vam Dox.
Vam Dox. Yeah. Anyway, we'll learn more about him and then maybe we'll figure it out. There's some amount of time goes past and Orion and Lance are training to go back up in space. And at the beginning of this story, we are catching up with them on their way to Earth 2. According to Orion, they've got about a week of space travel.
Okay.
Orion reveals that Vam Dox has broken out of prison recently.
Oh.
And Lance is like, oh, well, that freaks me the fuck out because we're probably number one on his hit list.
Right.
Since we're the reason he went to prison in the first place. And Orion's like, well, we'll just finish our mission, probably out for 2 or 3 weeks, and then we'll worry about it later.
Okay.
So as they're flying out, they discover that there's a stowaway on their ship. And it turns out that it's Vamdox himself. He snuck aboard the ship.
All right.
So, turns out Vamdox has one mission and one mission only. He just wants people to pay attention to him.
Oh.
And he wants them to care about him, even if that means that they hate him. So, he broke out of prison so that he can be relevant again.
Huh.
When he was younger, he was, in his own words, a loser. He got picked on a lot, nobody liked him. And even though he's done evil things to get on top, at least now he feels like a somebody.
Elon Musk?
Maybe? I don't remember Elon Musk being...
Big in 2016?
He probably was, wasn't
Yeah.
he? Okay, so maybe.
But I don't think people realized he was a man-child yet.
Maybe Chuck Tingle's just ahead of his time.
He is.
Okay, so I've got this quote from page 28 that I wanted to read.
Okay.
It was fine for a while, Vam admits, but I've changed. To tell you the truth, when I was younger, I was a loser. Nobody ever paid attention to me growing up. All the other kids were faster or stronger or, he trails off, smarter, Orion chimes in. Vam shakes his head, dismissing this, but I can tell that it hits home more than he wants to let on. I just never felt special, Vam says. But when you make yourself into a villain, at least you're something. People were paying attention to me. People actually cared. Even though they all hate you, I scoff. At least it's something, Vam admits. Better than being a nobody. So that's like his whole thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
He just doesn't want to be a nobody. And when he went to prison for life, he was facing being a nobody.
Right.
He was going to fade into obscurity. So he says that he's trying to ride their coattails out to Earth 2 to help save the planet, but it's for pretty selfish reasons.
Right.
So Orion and Lance are going to share their rations with him, but only because killing him seems like the wrong thing to do. They don't trust him at all, so they handcuff him to a pole and they keep him there as a prisoner for the whole entire week. And it's a very, very stressful week.
Yes.
Yeah. They land on Earth 2 and it's revealed that their coming here could be a prophecy coming true. All of the dinosaur people are very welcoming of them immediately, and they tell Lance that there's a prophecy that says, after a time of great turmoil, someone will arrive to bring joy and love to our people.
But he just has Vamdox.
Right,
So.
that's all he's got. Yeah, and Orion's like dismissive of it. He's like, it's just nonsense talk that we've always had on my planet. That's just a thing that people say. And Lance is like, well, what's the great turmoil? And the other dinosaurs are like, well, that's the thing. Everything's been really great here. So I don't know. I don't know. And then Orion also reveals that the reason everything's been so wonderful is that because on Earth 2, everything literally runs off the power of love.
Oh.
Like electricity.
Cute.
Yeah, I know. Adorable.
Okay.
And it has done for, like, millennia or whatever.
Great.
Yeah. So they're taken directly to the dinosaur president, which feels like a stretch. Like, they're just directly taken to the president. He's a pterodactyl man named Lurb.
Aw.
Lurb.
Lurb.
And just as they're meeting the president, and he's being all like, hello, it's so nice to meet you. My name is the president.
Lurb.
He gets a call on the radio, and another dinosaur is telling him, it's terrible down here. There's been an attack. There's been a sabotage. You have to stop the visitors. And the president turns on them immediately and is like, you had something to do about this. And they're like, no, it wasn't us. It's just this guy. He's not even with us. He's just the bad guy. And I swear we're not with him. We had him as a prisoner. I don't know how he broke loose. And then the radio was saying, like, there's hundreds of dogs. They're all rabid. There's all these diseased rabid dogs attacking all of us. And our weapons aren't working.
What?
Uh-huh. So Vamdox released just hundreds of rabid dogs onto the dinosaur
From
people.
where?
Who knows?
Okay.
Cargo hold? How do you get them on the ship, first
How'd
of all?
they stay alive?
I know. Who's feeding them?
Yeah.
I guess maybe that's why they're so hungry. How'd they live with rabies for a whole week? That's wild.
Yeah.
When did they get rabies? Anyway, Orion pieces together that the fear and anger that the dinosaurs are feeling is why the weapons won't work, because the weapons are also powered by love.
Oh.
And then to help power the weapons, there needs to be a display of great love. So they just start making out again.
Perfect.
Perfect. It fixes everything. So Orion and Lance are furiously making out, and then Lance stops because he's like, I feel really awkward that our love is going to power your guns. That feels weird. And President Lerb is like, oh, these aren't guns. These are teleporters.
Where do they go?
That was his question too. And President Lerb says, to the void.
Oh my God.
I know. And I guess that's a good enough and not scary enough answer.
Seems worse than death to me.
Yeah, so Lance is like, makes sense. And then they start fucking again. And the only thing that's new here is a line about, this was so sweet. I want to read it, actually.
Okay.
There's so many quotes from this book. I'm like, oh, it's so sweet. As I look back over my shoulder at my handsome raptor lover, I know for certain that this is exactly where I belong. Whether it's stationed on planet Zorbus, defending our rights in the courtroom, or halfway across the galaxy on Earth 2, next to Orion, is where I'm meant to be. Oh,
that's very cute.
Yeah.
Well, he's pounding him in the butt.
So yeah, I thought that was really quite sweet.
Yeah.
And then everything else is pretty much the same, except for the term hot milky jizz.
That's different than what you would expect?
No, different from the other sex scenes.
Oh, gross. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's the only thing that's really new.
Oh, okay.
Everything else, deep throat.
Yeah.
Ass stuff.
Oh,
do you like that? Domination.
Dino President.
Dino President is watching.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then after all the lovemaking, Lance realizes that something is off. He has post-nut clarity.
Perfect. Okay.
And he asks over the radio if the person on the other end knows the status of Vamdox. They reply that Vamdox is missing and asks if his companions have been banished to the void yet. This is a slip-up. The dinosaurs do not know Vamdox's name.
Oh.
The guy on the other end of the radio is Vamdox. None of this has happened. There's no rabid dogs. There's no attack.
Oh, okay.
Everyone's fine.
Great. Okay. Whew.
And they got to fuck in front of the president.
That really backfired on Vamdox there.
So then Lance tells the president to just go down there and arrest Vamdox before anything can get out of hand. And then we cut to Lance visiting Vamdox in prison. He's been crying in his cell, and he just wants to know if they're talking about him. He just wants to know if he's being acknowledged, even if it's with hatred. And Lance is like, yeah, I wrote a couple of books about it, actually. I think I'll write a third one about this. Vamdox is like, are people reading them? Lance is like, well, kind of. But in the grand scheme of things, my little books don't really have that much of an impact. And it just crushes him to think that he's not going to be relevant anymore. And he's like sobbing in his cell. And I guess there's another quote here that I wanted to read. You're not a supervillain. You're just a sad, self-hating man who likes to bother people. I understand that you like to act as though being a bad guy is some kind of thoughtful counter-argument to happiness and inclusion, but it's not. Unless you're a 5-year-old playground bully, it's not that edgy. It's not that cool. It's nothing. You're just kind of nothing. And how sad is that?
It's pretty sad, yeah.
But like how powerful too?
Yes.
Like what a wildly powerful thing to say to somebody who's caused so much harm to a group that matters to you.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of this third book. That's the whole metaphor in this third book.
The third book. Yeah. Okay.
I go back and forth on who I think that's supposed to be.
Maybe it's supposed to just be like voices on the internet.
It could be.
Because Vamdox, like Dox is like a...
I think it may be possible that he's supposed to be the people from the Sad Puppies organization. Because...
The rabid dogs?
Well, no, I didn't think about that.
Well, except for... Why would... And then they nominated this book?
Yes, but they nominated it as a joke. Like, they nominated the first one in the series.
Oh, okay.
And then he wrote the next two.
Got it. Okay.
So I think that's possible because the Raptor planet, Earth 2, they land in the capital city, and the capital city is called Hugonia.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I could totally see that.
And this line about thinking that being a bully or whatever, acting as though being a bad guy is some kind of thoughtful counter-argument.
Yes.
That is the entire motive of the Sad Puppies organization.
Right.
And the rabid dogs could be releasing the members of his group onto the internet to help him with his case. And the reason that the guy who started the Sad Puppies organization started it was because one of his books did not get acknowledged by the Hugo Awards. and was turned down. And so for a while, he was having people mass vote for his entries. And then he started trying to take down the organization as a whole. So I think it could be an attack against that guy specifically.
Yeah.
The name doesn't make any sense, but I think the metaphor does.
Yes, I think so.
And I think it's a pretty thoughtful fucking metaphor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, hot damn. That's wild. And I think you could read it a lot of different ways. I really do think you could read it as like Elon Musk or any asshole who moderates a Reddit page.
Right.
Like anybody. And then there's a line here that just feels like the message that I think Chuck Tingle has been projecting, especially on his social media, a lot.
Yeah.
He says, "Love is the most powerful thing in the universe. This is something that I have known for a long time and have preached from the rooftops until my throat was hoarse. But seeing and experiencing this power for myself is a realization that is most indescribable. Love is not just strong in some strange, intangible way. It's a literal force to be reckoned with." I think that he just, I think that that's like Chuck Tingle's message.
Yeah.
That's what he said at his book signing. That was what his whole presentation in his book signing was about. This is why I create this art. My books are not a joke. My books are serious erotica in a silly package.
Right.
And he talked a lot about how he's autistic and how writing these stories is a great healing practice for him, how he feels the most free to express himself in these stories, how he feels the most free to be himself when he's writing these books, and that it hurts to be seen as a joke because he's being serious. And his horror novels are not any more serious for him than his Tinglers.
Right.
And that is when I made the biggest mistake of my life. And I will forever feel so bad. So the thing about me is I cannot seem to meet a person that I respect without saying something entirely regrettable.
Entire foot in mouth?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so...
What did you say to the good old butt dog?
After waiting maybe 45 minutes in line to get several books signed by Dr. Chuck Tingle with my sister, I go up to him and I say, I need you to sign one book to me, and I need you to sign another book to Dolly and Jolene, because I got this copy that I'm holding in my hands signed to us.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, who's Dolly and Jolene? I'm like, well, I have a secret identity too. And I just got so autistic with him so fast. And I was like, I have a podcast. And we talked about one of your books on my podcast. And he said, what's your podcast about? And I said, with my full chest, bad porn. And he said, with the nicest spirit, you mean erotica? And I was like, yeah, no, I didn't mean to call your book bad porn. I was actually really pleasantly surprised by how good your book was. And I didn't mean to say that way. I actually really liked it. And I didn't mean it the way that I said it. And then I left. And then from our podcast email, I wrote him a very long email about how sorry I was and how much I respect him. And then he never responded. And I have been thinking about it for a year, I think.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, which is part of the reason I'm so glad we re-recorded this.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, the only thing I remembered was the courtroom sex scene.
That it was a public sex scene in the courtroom.
Yes, so they went to court, they fucked each other in the court, and that was what I remembered.
Yeah, so anyway, Dr. Chuck Tingle, if you're listening, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. It wasn't what I meant to say. I'm sorry. And that's it.
Well, he sounds like he writes beautiful, beautiful stories, and I bet he's a great butt doctor.
I bet he's the best butt doctor.
The best butt
doctor. I bet he
doctor.
gives really good colonoscopies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish he wouldn't use the word puckered. I do. In the bottom of my heart. I wish no one used that word.
Well, I haven't read any of his other books, but maybe he grew out of that phase. Maybe he's moved on to crinkled.
I might be alone in this. I just hate that word so much. It's not right.
No, I don't think you're alone in that. I don't think so. I think you're just fine.
Yeah. It sounds like it just sounds like a word that comes with a sound effect, you know? Like
that's not
puckered.
The sound effect that I would have chosen.
That's the one I hear. Every time somebody says like, puckered.
That's the one I hear.
All right. So
yeah, if I was going to recommend a book for this week, it would just be Chuck Tingle. Like, any one of his Tinglers is going to take you 15 minutes to read.
I actually might read the...
Bury Your Gaze?
No.
Oh.
Because horror is scary, but I'll read Pound It in the Butt with My Butt.
Pound It in the Butt by My Own Butt?
Yeah, by my own butt.
No.
Or, oh my God, I'm reading the mac and cheese one. I love mac and cheese. All right, Jolene, if you were to rate this book
on a
scale of 1 to 5, or 1 to 10, don't tell me, what would you rate it?
Don't tell you.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I would... This book in particular, probably a 3.5, because I did catch a lot of editing errors.
God damn it, John.
Fucking John.
Fucking John. This is what happens when you ask your kids to edit your erotica, though.
He didn't actually listen and he just turned it back and said it's good. But, yeah, I don't know. Like a 3.5. I thought the sex was pretty hot, surprisingly. And I thought
You love dinosaurs.
I do.
Dinosaurs and pirates. Oh my God.
Dinosaur pirates. He has to have one.
Dr. Tingle, please write.
Please write me a dinosaur pirate book that I can actually read because it doesn't have a bunch of rape in it.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. So go out, read one of Chuck Tingle's books. Yeah. Tingler or one of his novels
right in your butt.
If you like horror.
Don't pound the horror in your butt.
I don't know.
Take that, Hugo.
The award?
Yeah.
Okay.
That book was surprisingly less rough than the title suggested. What crazy nonsense are you bringing to the pod next month?
Next time, we're climbing up a family tree in The Talk of Coyote Canyon by Brenda Novak.
Wow, I can't wait to talk about the talk of Coyote Canyon.
Find us on Instagram at Womanly Portal Podcast.
Email us at womanlyportalpodcast@gmail.com.
Thanks goes out to Chloe Watts for our music.
And a special thanks to C Mann for editing this hot garbage.
Why doesn't my butt ever pound me in the butt? Before accepting C Mann as our Lord and Savior.
He is going to be the cult leader.
Yeah, already is.
All hail C Mann.
All hail. Praise be.
Praise be.
Amen.